Hi, my name is Larry Weisenthal, and I'm going to teach you how to clean a squid. This is a squid. It's also known as calamari in Italian. This is actually a pretty large squid. The typical squid is much smaller than this, but it's actually easier to demo a large squid than a small squid because you can see it a lot better. But this technique that I'm going to show you works for a very large squid like this. It also works for a very small squid like this, and it would even work for a squid this big. It'll work, in other words, for any size squid, because squid are basically the same animal. It doesn't matter, they have the same proportions, they have the same things. First of all, I need to show you something about the anatomy of a squid. This is the head of the squid. Now, squid is a very interesting animal because in front of its eyes, which you can clearly see there, are these things that stick in front of its head, and these are tentacles. So the part of the squid that you eat are the tentacles, which is the head of the eye, and then you eat part of the body. And so what I need to do is the part that we don't eat, we actually don't eat the head, and we don't eat the guts that's inside of the body, and we also don't eat the skin. So what we're going to do is I'm going to teach you how to get rid of the parts that we don't want and how to then use the parts that we do want. So what we first do is we lay the squid down on our cutting surface, and the very first thing we do is right ahead of the eyes, this part we want. So right in front of the eyes, we make an incision, and we amputate the tentacles. Now, what happens is in the tentacles, what you get out often is the beak, and the beak is the part of the squid that the squid eats with. And I see how I pull this out, and this has got a very sharp thing in it, and this is basically the squid's mouth, which sort of comes out there. So I neatly get rid of this, and so you can see clearly what I have is this hole, which is where the beak went. So this part is all good, so I keep this. This is the tentacles, and the tentacles are very good to eat. This part, which is the so-called beak, is no good to eat, so I'm going to throw this away. And now what I'm going to do is pull this out. I'm going to pull out, I hold on to the rest of the head, and I kind of, you have to use my fingers, and I kind of use my fingers to kind of go around inside of it. And all of this are squid guts, and we do not eat squid guts, at least not in this house we don't. In other places of the world we probably do eat squid guts, but I have my standards and I do not eat squid guts. Well, I can see that this is a female squid because look at this. We see these orange things? These are eggs. Actually, I don't know as I write this. Are squids hermaphrodites? I mean, are they? But anyway, this part we don't eat. It's the inside of the squid, and there's a little bit of the inside left over, which I can feel in here, which I'm sort of pulling out there. It's kind of a spine. This comes out too, and this is, I guess, squid blood. This kind of orange-looking yucky stuff. And I also don't eat this. A lot of times with squid, what you get is black ink, and a lot of people like to put the black ink in their food. But I think this is orange, which is the same color as the eggs, so I think these are like broken eggs or something like that. Anyway, I don't eat those. I don't eat chicken eggs, except for the white part. I certainly don't eat squid eggs. I'm kind of washing out the body right now just to ungross it. Now, the interior of the squid, I'm not going to eat this, so if I want to, I can either put this down my garbage disposal, or in this case, since I'm afraid of blocking up and junking up my garbage disposal, this goes into the trash. Just like that. Okay, now, oops, spine also goes in the trash. Now, I'm almost done. It's really not all that complicated, but what I'm going to do is just slightly clean up my knife and clean up the squid a little bit. Clean off my cutting board. And now I'm going to put the squid back on the cutting board because I got to get rid of the skin. Now the skin is this stuff, and I'm going to just kind of peel it off. It just peels off pretty easily. Actually, on a small squid, you can get it off all at once. This is actually harder than a small squid. I haven't previously done a squid this large before. I've only done the small ones. And with the small ones, you really kind of grab it and the whole skin just sort of peels off very easily. such that you can easily clean about 20 squid in about 2 minutes. But this takes a little bit more, it's a little bit more trouble. This is a little bit tougher coming off. See, I'm kind of having to exert some force to get the squid skin off the squid. But it is coming. It just kind of peels off. And you see underneath, you got this nice white meat. And squid meat is very, very mild, and it's not at all fishy. And a lot of people are really grossed out by squid because they think it looks so yucky. And I admit it looks a little yucky, but the point is that this meat is really, really tender and very, very nice. What I'm going to do is just remove the entire tail. See, the tail, you get rid of the tail from the body. This is what the skin looks like. It's yucky. It kind of actually smells yucky. It smells fishy. The squid body, on the other hand, doesn't smell fishy at all. It smells really wonderful. So I'll just work with the body. I'm almost done, but what I want to do is make sure that it's totally cleaned out. So what I like to do is actually turn the body inside out, which is easier to do on a small squid. Again, it seems to be slightly larger on a large squid. I'm going to cut a little bit of this off. This is a little bit tough. I'm going to get rid of this first little ring. And what I'm going to try to do is evert this, which means turn this inside out. Which on a small squid, it's really easy to turn the small squids inside out. This is, you see, by so doing, by turning the squid inside out, you can ensure, for those of you who are squeamish, that you have absolutely no squid guts. And by turning it inside out, I have displayed more squid guts, which I'm pulling out. And these I am going to drop down my garbage disposal, just because it's easy. And you see, by turning this inside out, I've got all this soft, yucky stuff, and I can get rid of this pretty easily. And I'm just going to peel this off. And the object is to get rid of all the stuff that's on the inside, and then just leave behind this nice white stuff. And I think I got this pretty good. And this is pretty nice. Okay, so now I got all the yucky stuff off the inside, and I'm almost done. I'm within 20 seconds of being able to be done with the video. And so now what I'm going to do is turn this back the way that it was. I'm going to turn inside out, outside in, or whatever. And I'm going to sort of create my little pouch. Now what I could do at this point, actually there's a lot of things you can do, and if you want to, like one of the things you can do is you can take lump crab meat and stuff the squid with crab meat, or you can stuff it with whatever you want to stuff it with, and it's just as good as like a turkey, and you could, if you wanted to, you could bake it. But most people do, however, when they get to this point, is they make the little rings, and this sort of sanitizes the squid for the squeamish. And so you make a series of parallel cuts, just like this, and in so doing, you create these nice little rings. And when you put them into any sort of, like you can, if you want to, you can fry them in olive oil. You can bread them and fry them, or you can put them in a tomato sauce, or you can use them in all sorts of cooking, but these will just sort of pucker right up and give you these nice little rings that are so really good to eat. And they won't taste at all fishy, and it's like pure protein and no fat, and it's a totally wonderful thing to eat. So anyway, you know, these nice little rings are what you normally get when you order calamari, because you're not grossed out when you eat them. In order to eat one of these, you have to have a little more in the way of intestinal fortitude, because it actually looks kind of yucky and squiddy, although it pretty much tastes the same. So if this was a small squid tentacle, I would just leave it as tentacles, and this would just kind of go in the pot. Since it's so large, I'll probably cut it up into little pieces, or else I'll just leave it the way that it is, whatever. Anyway, that's it. So that's how you clean a squid, and thank you very much for your attention. I really enjoyed the opportunity to show you my squid cleaning technique.